be alive in this land of ours. Good to drive in this land of ours.
Hello, Canada hockey fans in the United States.
The Hockey Time Machine.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hockey Time Machine. I'm Glenn Dreyfus. Hall of Fame sports writer Frank Brown. Welcome to Hockey Time Machine. Well, you weren't always watching the ice. Sometimes you were on the ice. We're going to show a couple of photos. The first one is in Montreal. You are looking sharp in your goalie gear there. And the second one is at the 1994 All-Star Weekend. This one is at Madison Square Garden, your kneeling bottom center. Did you ever skate between the pipes during a practice and play goal with any of the teams you covered?
I did. I played. I was in goal lots of times. After, at the end of morning skates, I would have my equipment and again, it was completely crazy to even imagine that this ever happened. But, because, I had covered, Herb Brooks's, Olympic team, he and I were, we had a relationship. So I wanted to go out and, face the shooters, who I was constantly criticizing. And so he said, up, go ahead and have at it. And, other times, whether it was Phil Esposito or with the Devils, John Cuniff, or I don't remember Al Arbor ever granting me permission, but with many of the Rangers teams I covered and many of the Devils teams I covered, I would end up on the ice, and I felt it was fine because, if I take shots at the players, in print, I think they're entitled to take shots at me on the ice. I think that was only fair because how many were going to hit me anyway, and
Well, listen, did anyone ever go head hunting?
Oh yeah, Thomas Sandstrom loved to shoot right past my head, and the incredible thing about Thomas Sandstrom's shot was you could hear it coming. It's like if you've ever had the good luck to stand near the batting cage during batting practice at a Major League Baseball game, you hear the ball coming, and Thomas had the heaviest and hardest shot.
You're an otherwise bright guy. Why would you subject yourself to that?
I thought it was only fair. If I took shots at the players, they should be allowed to take shots at me. And I took plenty of shots, and I didn't get hit with many.
Well, even so, when you first took over the Rangers beat for the Daily News on the way to practice in Rye, New York, you were part of a pretty famous carpool.
Well, that was just another stroke of luck and the source of any number of hilarious stories. But, I lived in the city. Some of the players did too. So every once in a while I would, not every once in a while, often I would get rides from the players, and it was great to just get to know the players a little bit more. I don't think it's something that that today's media I don't think it's a luxury that that is extended to today's media. But back in the day, back in the time machine, the players were a great deal more approachable and much more, giving of their personalities, and it was no big thing. So,
Well, from what I understand, Esposito was usually the driver, and who
Yeah.
else was in the car with you?
Oh, he would drive, and he would pick up Ron Greschner and Ron Duguay, and often Barry Beck would drive, and it was quite.
Okay, can you give
I
us
don't know.
one of those
Yeah.
hilarious stories that's fit for print?
Well, I'll share one that Barry shared with me the day that Pierre LaRouche was obtained by the Rangers. Barry decided to pick him up, either or give him a ride from practice or something like that, and introduce him to the city or something of that nature. And they were driving down 57th Street, and Barry decided to show how bulletproof he was in terms of traffic regulations and so forth. And he made an ill-advised turn that was just against the light. So of course there's a police officer standing right nearby, waves the car over, and of course, his passenger and his new passenger from Hartford is taking all of this in, and the officer says, "You know what you did, right?" And he said, "Yeah, really sorry, but I'm Barry Beck of the Rangers." And the officer didn't really register, but then Pierre got out of the car and said, "Hi, I'm Pierre LaRouche." And he goes, "Oh, Pierre LaRouche." I'll let your friend off this one time, but you're not gonna do it again, right?
Put
So
Barry, let Barry know where he stood on the totem pole, huh?
I'll let you off this once, but don't make it a habit.
Frank, you have called your work, quote, a sacred trust. You've described yourself as a strategic storyteller. Tell me what those two things are all about.
It was always a priority of mine to remember that sports writing means that you write. You don't simply type. That you write a story the way you would want to read it. You would want to be informed, educated, entertained, engrossed, and emoted to and with. There is an amazingly peculiar process in being a sports writer. It is the most exclusionary, because the process you disappear into the story, but it's also the most inclusionary, because you are reaching out to multitudes of people who you will never meet, and to establish a connection, to establish an emotional connection, a bond through the sport, but also through the language, was a priority to me. I was given the privilege of access to the greatest coaches, the greatest players, the greatest venues, the greatest life any hockey fan can imagine. I served as the representative of the fans. I asked the questions that I imagined they wanted answered. But I never forgot, ever, what I did to save up my money to buy a season ticket so that I could sit in the mezzanine with a score pad on my lap. and it was always a priority to write, not just type.
Ah, very interesting. There's also a competition among the media that's every bit as fierce as on the ice or the field. And here's how you described it once. We all read each other because we all needed to know if somebody had a story that we needed to match or exceed and surpass. Any examples come right to mind?
Oh, it was everything every day, Glenn. And the objective or my objective was always to get something that no one else had. I wasn't going to, if I could avoid it, follow the pack around the dressing room. I wanted to be the guy speaking with, one of the other players who might give me better information, more intriguing commentary, and just something that would be a little bit different. Of course, I would always, I would always write Mark Messier. I mean, you had to write Mark Messier when he was, the alpha male in the Rangers dressing room during the Stanley Cup run and so forth. But there are so many other players who never get interviewed and who are probably as interesting, if not more interesting, because they have to work harder to keep their jobs in the lineup.
What are the secrets to getting behind athlete speak or coach speak?
I can't speak for others. I can only speak for myself. It was constant study. It was constant. I couldn't spend enough time with Herb Brooks. I can't think of any other individual who taught me more about the game than Herb. And one of the greatest mentors that any person could ask to be able to interact with, and particularly as a hockey writer. He was absolutely incredibly important in terms of educating me about the game. So, I would always do my best to tape the games back on the 1-inch, VCR cassettes, and I would always try to tape the games and watch them the next day to see things that I had missed, or to see if there were, things that I could pick up about the way a play was made or not made. I would always speak to as many of the players as I could, and just really gain as much of a broad knowledge base as possible to polish my commentary and to have the confidence that it was coming from a base of knowledge. Yeah, I'm not saying that I didn't, shoot from the hip or other body parts at other times, but I was always confident that I had an insight because of what the players and coaches shared with me.
And yet occasionally, despite your best efforts, after you packed up and you were headed home, you would agonize, you said, over what you called parking lot leads.
It was never, the process is, it doesn't end when you send the story, Glenn. The process continues, and when you're engaged in creating the story, you think, yeah, this is absolutely the story that needs to be told. But I can't tell you the number of times when, after I had filed and after I'd given the desk the chance to read it and to, ask the questions, or if I had left something out or something of that nature, I would be walking to the car to drive back and think, oh my God, that was the story. That was the lead. Why didn't I write it? And it was a constant element of second guessing, and also not ever being satisfied with the end product. It was good, can always be better, and one of Herb Brooks's more famous sayings, or what should be, is, my philosophy is simple: nobody can tell me I've accomplished enough. And that's pretty much the mentality that I brought to the keyboard.
And you go after long form writing in 1993, writing a book about the Rangers, Broadway Blues. How much did it cost, by the way, for fans to purchase a copy?
Well, this is in my smart aleck days, because at the time I wrote it, this book was about the year that the Rangers were supposed to win their first Stanley Cup since 1940, and of course it was the rallying cry, certainly of the Islander fans who delighted, of course, in rubbing 4 consecutive Stanley Cups in the Rangers' faces every time they played, and even times when they didn't. So, of course, the natural way to get some attention and some cheap publicity was to charge $19.40 for the book, and the publishers, Sagamore Publishing at the time, thought it was a great idea. So that's where it ended up being.
The book ended up spurring the Rangers, no doubt, on the next year to win that Stanley Cup and break the 54-year curse. Now, in the final against Vancouver, the Rangers lead 3-1 before they drop games 5 and 6. Do you remember what you wrote before Game 7?
Well, probably something about choking dogs.
Indeed. It is a 1-game season now for the New York Rangers, who will write history either as the biggest bunch of choking dogs or the most memorable group of players the franchise ever assembled. So take me inside MSG for Game 7.
Take everything that I mentioned about the field house at Lake Placid, for the Russian game and the Finland game, and amplify it, because the Rangers' history, their modern history, had been full of near misses, of buts, of and a but is, they were great. Yeah, they were great, but they didn't win, and so forth. It was, if there was a way of fate intervening, or bad play intervening, or bad hockey intervening, that would keep the Rangers from winning, it always had happened. And the question, the giant that the Rangers had to slay, including a ferocious Vancouver team that was really good, was slaying that demon of, okay, what's going to happen this time? What's the but going to be after Game 7? And will it be 54 more years before they win again? And, by the skin of their teeth, this was a 1-goal game, okay? That it was a 1-goal game with 1.2 seconds left. And Craig McTavish, who had been obtained by Neil Smith at the trading deadline, had to win that draw to secure the Stanley Cup, and he managed to do it. But this was the 7th game at home that they earned through their season of excellence. So they needed that 7th game, at home. They got it at home, and they won that faceoff. The player who won the faceoff that clinched it was was a player that Neil Smith obtained at the deadline. So there are so many variables that go into winning. It is so hard. It's still hard. It's always going to be hard. But you can imagine that when they finally won, the roof just about lifted into the sky.
The Daily News staff covering the series took a center ice photo. I recognize you. Do you remember who these other fine gentlemen are?
Yes, and I will start at my extreme left, John Delapina, who not only succeeded me on the Ranger beat at the Daily News, but also succeeded me in my role with the National Hockey League, is in the dark blazer. Next to him is John Giannone, who is to this day a terrific commentator on MSG Network on Ranger games. Over his shoulder is Colin Stevenson, who has had a great career as a sports writer with a variety of publications, including the Daily News. And to my immediate, to the right as you stare at the screen, and to my immediate left is Barry Mizell, who has made a phenomenal career in sports memorabilia and the Migray jersey business. He turned it into an industry.
In a post-Cup special section in the Daily News, there's this photo that actually includes a sixth member, Philip Bondi.
Yep.
So imagine that, Frank, a six-pack of writers for one newspaper covering hockey. In 2023, sadly, many major metropolitan dailies don't even have one beat writer.
Yeah.
Now, I'll get on my soapbox for a minute and then let you react. I don't think that's a reflection on hockey and its popularity as much as it is the devaluation of journalism, which is being demonized, and not just in the sports page, almost to extinction. So no offense to Frank Brown, who worked as communications VP for the NHL, but my view is we shouldn't rely on sports teams or any private company to report on itself.
Yeah. Yeah. It had the difference or the distinction between sports coverage today and, perfectly in 1994. Okay. 1994 was 10 years before Facebook. It was 11 years before YouTube. It was 12 years before Twitter. It was 13 years before the iPhone. It was 16 years before the iPad and Instagram, all of which have had an incredible impact on real-time content delivery, and really have completely changed the way sports writers have to perform their jobs, and have completely transformed the industry into a much more immediate, much less I don't want to say much less responsible, but the emphasis on speed is predominant in the journalistic world in which I operated. You wanted to have a story first, of course, but the news cycle was morning, afternoon, and evening, not 24/7. Huge difference.
Literally, in the Seattle Kraken press box, I watched one of my colleagues. The final horn goes off. He, with a great flourish, presses down a button on his laptop, and 5 seconds after the final horn, his story is online. But I told you I got off my soapbox. I lied, because my problem with the blogs and the tweets and all of that is that a lot of the citizen journalists aren't journalists. And when we go to lawyers, we expect them to have a degree. And when we go to doctors, we expect them to have gone to school for their specialty. And to me, journalism, and yes, I grew up in the Watergate era of let's comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable, and journalism is a noble profession, Woodward and Bernstein. But I think journalism should be left by and large to professionals like the other professional occupations.
It's certainly a valid point, Glenn. I will say that as much as I feel that, and as much as like I felt, that my copy would stand up to the scrutiny of the layers of editors that it went through, and that still should be operative. It is in large measure, in the still printed product. The requirements of immediacy have changed the rules, not necessarily for the better. There are just the margin for error is just entirely too large.
In all your time as a reporter, was Brian Trottier the toughest nut for you to crack? Here's what you said about him at one time. I was on a quest to help people understand what a superstar he was, and he would never help me.
Yeah. 100%. I can't tell you how great a player he was. I did my best to tell my audience what a great player he was. And he was a great quote as long as it had nothing to do with him. If you wanted to talk about Mike Bossy, he would talk about Mike Bossy all day. And he would tell you every aspect of Bossy's greatness. The same with Clark Gillies, the same with anybody else who played on those great Islander champion teams. When he came to speaking about himself, Brian, he literally just refused. He just refused. And it wasn't so much his position that it's not about me. He just refused to talk about himself, and it was frustrating to the point of infuriation. But he would not change, and I've told him this, or words, very much to the effect of what you just read, Glenn. In recent years, and he went, "Yeah, I was kind of a dummy about that." And
well, now he's written a book, so
he's written a book, so I guess he had all those words saved up, but I sure would have loved to have helped him write a smaller book for my audience.
Tell me what influenced your decision to leave the Daily News and go work for the league as vice president of communications, and whether it was what you expected it to be once you got there.
I can give you a two-part response. I saw these clouds forming over the industry at the end of my Daily News tenure. It was becoming too much about, obviously it wasn't about Twitter at the time, but there was less and less an influence on the journalistic part, and more about the, just the real-time information part that I just couldn't coexist with. So that was part one. I wasn't comfortable with the way that the industry was heading. number two, simply the NHL asked.
Another offer you couldn't refuse.
How do you say no? I mean, to be able to, again, understanding this through the filters of the decades we're talking about, Glenn, to be able to write one article and get it into the Rangers program in 1970 for a $50 check, to me was mind-blowing. To be able to actually be hired by the Associated Press in New York, much less to be able to have my name on articles on what was at the time the world's dominant newswire service, is unbelievable. To conjure that I could have appeared on the pages of the New York Daily News, and my photo, which proves that I needed a comb at one time in my life, is unfathomable. And so to then do a 180-degree turn and to undertake employment with the establishment that I had been writing about for decades, it wasn't even a dream come true, because you don't dream about this stuff.
As close as you were to the league when you were writing about them, what did you learn about the league and how it operates that you didn't know when you were on the other side?
Everything. I knew basically nothing. The expression that I've come to think is the most appropriate is as a hockey writer, I was examining the blemishes on the face of the game. Working for the league enabled me to watch the people who hold its heart in their hands. Huge difference. 180 degrees removed from what I imagined the reality to be. It was always easy to make fun of, the work ethic of people whose work ethics I really had, very, very little familiarity with. It was easy to say, John Ziegler was lazy, but he wasn't around very much. So, I guess that contention was supportable by evidence. But to see how hard Gary Bettman works, to see how hard Bill Daly works, to see how hard the team executives work on all of the clubs, even the ones that are just awful, to see how competitive the teams are against each other, but how supportive they are in other elements of understanding the business, of having the business move forward, and understanding that they all have to move forward together for the business to survive, was an incredible education.
You mentioned the commissioner, and Sports Business Journal wrote that you became a close confidant of Gary Bettman's, somebody he trusted. And we all think, even as fans, that we know public figures like Bettman. But working side by side with him every day for a long time, what do you think it is that we don't know or that we get wrong about the commissioner?
Work ethic, for one. Hardest working man I know. Still. Commitment to people. And he'll be probably enraged at me for sharing this, but when my mother passed away, he came to my home to pay condolence calls, not once but 3 times. An empathetic man, truly an empathetic man, unbelievable family man, who cares deeply about the people with whom he works. And listen, the term I like to use is every day I walked into the office. When I walked in, I was steak, and when I walked out, I was hamburger. And and it's true. He beats you up, he works you hard, but it's because of the shared common objective to make the league better every second on every level and in every possible way.
Do you think he wishes he got a better reaction from the NHL public?
You know, he's been at it for so long, and his skin is pretty tough. His skin is pretty thick. Everybody would like to be liked. It can't always be the case. Separate and apart from that, though, the way that the business of the NHL has come to prosper, with the real forward thinking, with the real vision that and a real fearlessness. Okay, the Winter Classic was a fearless move forward, and expansion to Las Vegas was a fearless move forward. And the other leagues were standing around waiting to see who was going to go. There was no doubt that some league was going to plant its flag in the ground at Las Vegas, and kudos to him for doing it, having the nerve.
One last silly question, and then we'll finish up with a couple that I hope won't be silly. Is it true before game 1 of the 98 finals at Joe Louis Arena that Joey Kocur used you as a good luck charm?
Yes. And I hope that I have it someplace. I hope that I'm able to find it. This had been an extremely contentious final. It was my first final with the league, and my job was really to facilitate access between the players and the media. And Scotty Bowman was just not having it, and the team was just not as available as it needed to be. And push came to shove from a business standpoint, ended up fining the Red Wings $50,000 for failure to provide the access that needed to be provided. And so then the night of the final, I happened to be in one of the sort of off limits areas in the Red Wings dressing room, and I saw the release that we had put out about the fine, and above the headline was a photo, a headshot of me in the middle of a bullseye, and it was scotch taped. It was scotch taped to the wall in the dressing room, and I believe I have it someplace, but it was hilarious. And I know Joe very well. I covered him as a Ranger, and it was funny, but it wasn't funny.
But he rubbed your head for good luck too.
Always. He wanted.
Oh, it wasn't just that night? Because I read he rubbed your head for good luck, and then in game 1 of the final, he scores a goal.
Yeah, he wanted to do it again, but the head was off limits from going forward after it. It showed up in the bullseye.
And I understand that Washington's GM George McPhee demanded equal time from your scalp.
Yeah, George. I covered George as a rookie, and We still to this day call each other Monster for a reason I don't even remember. But he was a great guy, and he just thought that touching Buddha's head was going to bring him luck, and I guess it did.
Okay, we'll finish now where we began with the Elmer Ferguson Award. This award is so prestigious, we'll even forgive you for choosing to wear that tie.
Yeah, that was a wardrobe failure that I will get all kinds of grief for, I'm sure.
But I want to read what the former PHWA president, Mark Spector, who you mentioned at the beginning of the show, what he said about you. Quote, he stayed true, meaning you, Frank, stayed true to his tabloid roots with punchy prose, scoops, and leads. He also told hockey stories exceptionally well. And the Sporting News added, Frank Brown's byline is on top of some of the most important stories in hockey history. So one last time, let's go to your press credentials. This one from 1973, did this help you get a better table at Elaine's?
No, it certainly did not. But the thing that I'm fascinated by is the number in the bottom left corner. I was number 282 at the time, and my number when I retired was considerably lower,
which we're going to show now. Like a credit card company with a valued customer, you get upgraded to lifetime status. How did that happen?
Yeah. Well, in one instance, at the time, it was in terms of the number of years of membership. Subsequently, it's been altered to Elmer Ferguson honorees and a certain level of tenure. But I will tell you that number one that was retired for Red Fisher, who worked with Clarence Campbell, as I may have mentioned, to have Elmer's name attached to the Hall of Fame award. Elmer, believe it or not, when the PHWA was formed in 1967, Jack Delmage, who was the Secretary Treasurer at the time, assigned Elmer number 14. So it's interesting to me that Red is number one. He helped create the Elmer Ferguson Award. Elmer was number 14, and it's mind-boggling to me that I'm number 19.
Well, I know one perk of membership. Tell us about this photo from 2013, you with President Obama.
You know, this was another one of my, well, I need to do this kind of moments. It was rather like when I sang the national anthem to myself in the press box at Lake Placid. But of course, it's the practice of the president to invite the championship team to the White House, and because the commissioner attended, I attended as well. And I kind of wasn't invited to be in that room, but I said, you know what? I'm going to meet me a president. So next to me in the red tie is Brandon Faber, who is no longer with the team, names with the Bears now, I believe, and over his shoulder is Pete Hassan. But I said, I'm going to take this opportunity as an NHL executive to shake the hand of the President of the United States, and it's a moment I'll always cherish.
Were you nervous?
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Hell yeah. But I will tell you that he looked directly into my eyes and said hello, even though he had absolutely no idea who I was. And but it's yet another real just an astonishing thing, Glenn, to look at that photo and imagine what the game has given me, what hockey has given me, the thrills, the excitement, and the honors. I used to think that I gave my life to the game, but when I imagine the life that the game gave to me, there's no comparison.
Well, clearly, Frank, all of your glory days didn't happen in high school. So thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your insights. It was wonderful to spend time with you. Thank you so much.
It was a delight, as always, Glenn.